Vetch Makropoulos. This is one of the most technically difficult paintings I ever did. I spent an inordinate amount of time at it. And this ladder here, it's all encaustic. All of this is paint, handmade in the studio. This piece is about 60 inches by about 18 inches or a little more. Now the challenging part of this piece was I painted it in such a way that the rungs, I tried to not connect to the surface, which was an absolute bitch to do when you're doing things with a liquid. And encaustic, when it's hot, is a liquid. So it's a bit of a different discipline. It would have been a lot easier to carve this, but making this with paint was definitely one of the great challenges I've ever taken on. And not as much of a challenge as it was for this man, though. Now this piece is called the Makropoulos Case. So the story behind the painting was I was living down in downtown New York, and I'm going to stay this side because of the shadows. So I was downtown New York, living downtown New York, and my friend, a namesake named Maggie Savage, was a travel agent to the rich and famous. She calls me one day and asks me did I want to go to an opera, a premiere at the Met, knowing that I rather liked the opera, as my father was sort of in the game for a while, and I had a suit. So Maggie had a client who had to be in London that night, and she gave Maggie these premiere tickets for the Makropoulos Case. Now, it's regarded as Janicek's finest score, and the actual lyric for it, the written part was drawn from the book Vetch Makropoulos by the Czech writer Karl Čapek. It was produced as the Makropoulos Case in New York, although it has been known as the Makropoulos Thing, and for Čapek himself, the Makropoulos Secret. And it tells the story of this woman who the diva at the time for this was Jessie Norman. And it tells the story of a 300-year-old woman who carries through the life as a singer and becomes incrementally more involved in the lives of her offspring down through the line. And people want this Vetch Makropoulos, which essentially is the formula, the elixir of eternal life. Now this particular character was the opening scene in the play. His name was Vitek. He was the law clerk, and he was the one who introduced and narrated the beginning of the story before the diva made her entrance. And Richard came out being a premiere. None of us quite knew what to expect, but so Richard comes out singing. It was sung in English, and the translations were there on the back of the seat in Lincoln Center. And he climbs this ladder. He's dressed as a 1920s law clerk. He climbs this big ladder in a law office. He takes out a file. He comes back. He regales us with the tale of the Makropoulos Secret. And then he goes back up the ladder. And as he puts the file into the drawer, he sings the line, "Too bad you only live for so long." And he had a heart attack about 20 feet up in the air and fell and hit the boards like a safe and died in front of us. It was the third time in the history of the Met that they cancelled an opera. And Richard Versailles, 63 years of age, had the performance of his life, and one of the few times that I'm sure that Jessie Norman was upstaged. But as for A Tale of Immortal Life, it was rather ironic that we would watch the man leave us like that. And that story is what drove this painting, the Makropoulos Secret, as Čapek liked to call it.